My name is Andrew Stotts of the Valuation Master Class, and we have another presentation from one of our students. And I am looking forward to this one. So let me just bring Mohammed on right now. Mohammed, how are you? You ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, well, we are now live, and it's exciting that you can bring your work to the world. I'm going to bring up your presentation right now. Now we can see your company is Nike. So
Yeah.
I'm going to take myself out of this in just a second, and then you take over. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take myself out now, and then you can start right now.
Okay, so Nike. Nike is a company that has a lot on its shoulders considering it lagged behind in innovation in the recent years. And that being said, I would say it would have to meet expectations to unlock the upside. I initiate Nike with a buy recommendation based on a target price of $96, implying an upside of 23% from the current price of $78. I derive my target price from FCFF based valuation using a WACC of 9.6% and a terminal growth rate of 3%. The key highlight would be that industry-leading innovation through high R&D is to be followed by high growth. However, there is a similar risk. Will R&D bear the desired results, or will the impact prove to be immaterial? So let's get on started with what exactly Nike is. Nike is a global renowned American company that specializes in designing, producing, and selling footwear. It also deals in apparel and accessories. Furthermore, Bill Bowerman co-founded the company in 1964 with Phil Knight, and it was known as Blue Ribbon Sports back then. Nike used to deal in Japanese-made running shoes, but after it made a breakthrough in a type of new types of shoe called the Cortez in 1971, it changed its name to Nike. The main brands under Nike are Nike, Converse, and Jordans, and its market share is currently at 39% approximately. So let's begin with what exactly are our stories behind our valuation. So the first thing I would like to say that Nike is constantly decreasing its inventory, moving towards leaner inventory management and lower holding costs. Nike has improved its inventory management between 2022 and 2024, and it is expected to further improve it with leaner inventory. uh, there are higher risks of stockouts and supply chain vulnerabilities. However, it is expected to boost profitability by reducing storage cost, minimizing obsolescence, and improving cash flows in the years 2025 and 2026. However, Nike must be sure it should balance efficiency with flexibility. The next thing I would like to point out is Nike is currently highly focused on high R&D, which I think will be followed by high growth. So, what exactly are the R&D? The first thing is it is pioneering the use of generative AI for product design in its project called Air Athlete Imagine Revolution and AI optimized air technology. It will integrate AI with virtual reality and 3D printing for its benefit, which will allow it to do things within hours that would usually take weeks or months. It would further use the Air project to customize prototype shoes for professional athletes and utilize the AI enhanced technology to refine these for optimal performance. These advancements will change the industry by improving comfort and performance, fostering brand loyalty, and attracting competitors' customers. As a result, in initial years, its capex would grow, but in the later years, its revenue would grow, which will outpace the industry growth. Lastly, and it is going to reduce waste and water use to drive profitability and customer loyalty. How will it do that? Nike has committed towards sustainable development goals, specifically SDG 12, in which it focuses towards being a responsible consumption and production. It aims to reduce material waste by 10%, cut water use in dyeing and finishing by 25%, and recycle waste back into its production. This way, it is going to attract environmentally conscious consumers, boosting consumer retention and sales. Further, the reduction of waste will enhance production efficiency and reducing waste. This will lower cost and improve profitability. Now, let's move on. So these are the quarterly results. These results show that Nike's revenue faced a significant decrease both on a quarter-on-quarter basis and a year-on-year basis in in the first quarter of 2025. Furthermore, the company also faced a 1.2% year-on-year increase in gross margin, while a year-on-year decrease in net margin by 2.1%. Nike further reported a recurring EPS of 0.71%, that was minus 28% year on year and minus 41% quarter on quarter. So most companies seem to think that increasing profits and share price will derive growth. So management seem to focus on growth, but we will take a unique perspective on this, and we will focus on the constraints on growth. And for Nike, I would like to say that the constraints to growth are neutral overall. So let's begin with the four elements that we use to see the constraints. The first is capital, which I think is a minor constraint considering Nike does not have very much debt, and it is net cash. Further, its cash conversion cycle has been falling. Furthermore, given its non-capital intensive business model, it does not need a lot of cash, and it also has a very high cash holding. So I do not see access to capital as a constraint to expanding production. The next one is operations. It is highly dependent on a single brand, and it has a large distribution network which brings operational complexities, high cost, and potential inefficiencies. Furthermore, its supply chain can easily disrupted due to its dependency on specific raw material and its just-in-time methodology. The next constraint is the market. The footwear market shows saturation, growing at only 6.8% cumulative annual growth rate. Furthermore, it faces intense competition from other established players such as Adidas and Puma. The market also faces high regulations. Last but not the least constraint is the factor people, which I think is a minor constraint due to Nike being an attractive employer due to having a high amount of employees. Furthermore, its board and its CEO do not seem to have like further like new people do not it does not seem that it will be having difficulty hiring new people due to it having competent employees in senior positions. The graphs on the right show everything I spoke about with the from having low CCC and having high cash to assets, the rising shoe consumption, but in a slow way. Next, I will speak about the revenue distribution of Nike. Nike generates most of its revenue from footwear, contributing about 69% of the revenue. That is about 35 billion. The next is its sales from apparels, which contributes about 27%, being at 14 billion in revenue. The last is the sales from equipments, which are 4%, which seem to generate 2 billion in revenue. On a geographical basis, North America generates 43% of revenue, while Europe, Middle East, and Africa generate about 28% of the revenue, with Nike and Converse being the major brands. The next, this is the FEMR approach, in which Nike appears to be attractive relative to the 1810 non-financial companies in the US based on four factors: fundamentals, valuation, momentum, and risk. In fundamentals, it seems to be in the top 20% due to strong profitability driven by high margins. In the valuation, it seems that neutral due to it having high P and on the other side having low PEG ratio. On momentum, it seems neutral because both price and fundamental did not seem to give convincing results. On the risk, it has a low balance sheet risk due to having low net debt to equity ratio, high coverage ratio, and high current ratio. However, price risk is higher due to having high beta. Now, let's first visit the WCBM model, which is world-class benchmarking. This shows that based on a profitable growth measure, it ranks at the top 20% from the 910 large consumer discretionary companies globally. And in the past 12 months, it ranked at 1%. Uh, the profitable growth can be divided into two things: profitability and growth. It has excellent profitability, being at a world class level since 2021, and growth seems to have some improvement room for improvement as it rose from 5 to 7% recently, and it has a upward trend since 2022. Profitability can be divided into asset efficiency and expense control. Asset efficiency has ranked number 3 since 2020 and seems to have insignificant improvement, whereas expense control has more than offset poor asset efficiency and has ranked number 2 consistently. The growth can be divided into two parts as well: revenue growth and expense direction. Revenue growth has ranked below average recently, and in the past 12 months, it is at number 8. Expense direction has been volatile, as it improved to number 1 in 2021, dropped to number 8 in 2022, and then recently improved to number 3 in the last 12 months. Now let's get back to where we came from. So this is the Porter's five forces. Based on the Porter's five forces, we will analyze five things: rivalry among competitors, bargaining power versus suppliers, bargaining powers versus customers, threats to new entrants, and threat of substitutes. First, we will analyze uh, the rivalry among competitors. The rivalry among competitors, we will see three things. Are there many competitors of roughly equal size? Yes, there are, such as Adidas, Puma. However, Nike has a large market share, being at 38.7%. Is the industry having slow growth? So, no. The growth of the industry is at 6.8%, and of the footwear market and the sports apparel market shows a 6% market growth. As for the technological disruptions, that yes, there are technological disruptions such as the smart footwear, AR, and virtual try-ons such as virtual reality and 3D printing for customizations, which will disrupt the industry. Uh, Coming at a score of 60% for rivalry among competitors. Now, for bargaining power versus suppliers, Nike has the suppliers of Nike have a influence on Nike's input cost. However, Nike having a diverse global supplier network, it reduces reliance on single source of supply, which allows it to maintain flexibility and minimize supplier control. Further, it is not really hard for Nike to switch from suppliers. However, it can be said that it is more challenging for suppliers specialized components like advanced forms for Nike to switch to other suppliers. Furthermore, there are concerns such as logistical concerns, quality control, production lead times, which may complicate transactions to other suppliers. Lastly, is it possible for Nike to backward integrate? So I do not think it is possible because it would be highly challenging due to high cost, the need for specialized expertise, and reduced supply chain flexibility, making full integration less cost effective and difficult. Brings us to an score of 53% for bargaining power versus suppliers. Bargaining power versus customers has an score of 47% due to its customers having many alternatives such as Adidas. Furthermore, it can be said that its customers do not have a high pressure on companies due to having low buyer concentration. However, their preferences, the competitive environment, and the market dynamics do indirectly influence supplier behavior. The customers, in terms of price sensitivity, depend on what is the product. Customers of price products tend to be more price sensitive, whereas consumers of premium price products due to be less price sensitive due to stronger brand loyalty. The threat of new entrants is low because the score is 87% and Nike has handled it very nicely due to because entering the new industry is challenging and competitors need significant capital and strategy to compete with Nike. Furthermore, it is not easy for the new companies can easily access raw materials and labor inputs, but it will have to build relationships with suppliers and invest in sophisticated manufacturing process. Furthermore, the new entrants cannot would face significant barriers as it would not be able to easily achieve economies of scale due to having large capital requirements. Uh, the threat of substitutes have an overall score of 40%. due to customers facing low switching costs. Furthermore, there are some perceived differences in products due to Nike having strong brand loyalty, uh, innovation, and design, which translate to a clear differentiation in the products. This brings us to an overall score on the basis of the Porter's five forces of 57%, which is slightly better than just okay. Now let's move on to the team of the Nike. First of all, Nike's CEO currently recently changed to Elliot Hill, which retired from the post of CEO in Nike back in 2020. Furthermore, the chairman of Nike is Mark Parker. Aside from that, the ownership of Nike is divided into two parts, institutional and others, with institutional being dominant at 64%. Nike's board comprises mainly of independent directors, with the total number of directors being at 11 and the number of independent directors being at 9, and it falling near the S&P 500 independent directors percentage, which is quite significant, and I think it highly speaks of the governance. Now let's move on to the ESG. These are the graphs of WCBM. So, in terms of ESG, we will look at three things: environmental, social, and governance. We will begin with environmental. The company seems to have a resource reduction policy, which is good. It does not. However, it has faced controversies in the past. Furthermore, the company has does have emissions and waste policy, reducing it. However, the company does not seem to be engaged in emissions trading, which is a bad thing. Lastly, the company has environmental, economical, green, and organic products, which is a good thing, bringing the overall environmental score to 60%. Let's look on to the social factors. The company has a safe health and safety policy. Furthermore, the company does have a human rights policy as well, and it highly speaks of it, saying that there is no finish line regarding the respect for human rights. Furthermore, the company does have a fair competition policy as it highly emphasizes on it. Uh, the company has also implemented quality management systems with constant trainings of its suppliers as well. Lastly, the company does not drive any revenue from weapons, alcohols, gambling, tobacco, or pornography, bringing the social score to 100%. Lastly, let's talk about governance. The company has a high board independence, being at 82%. The company's chairman and CEO are separate. Furthermore, as for the shareholder rights policy, there does not seem to be one, which is a bad thing. The company has does not have any insider tradings, and it has strict restrictions regarding this. Lastly, the company has CSR sustainability and ESG reporting, which is a good thing, bringing the score of governance at 80% and the overall score of ESG at also 80%. Now, let's look at the financial statements based on my forecast and stories. So, as you can see, I expect the revenue to grow from 51 billion to around 67 billion in 2029. Furthermore, the recurring EPS is also expected to grow from 4 to 5.8. These are the assets. Asset side of the balance sheet, not much to speak about. Then this is the liabilities and equity side of the financial statements with long-term debt falling and the book value per share rising due to the high values of equity. This is the cash flow statements based on the previous income statement and balance sheet. These are the ratios. The ratios are constantly improving had improved in the past constantly and is expected to constantly improve in the future as well. Furthermore, these are the further ratios with the DuPont analysis as well. As you can see, this is the free cash flow data. Uh, I do not think there is much to speak about aside from the high R&D and high capex, increasing the depreciation and amortization as well. Furthermore, you can see the high capex with the capex constantly rising over the forecasted years. This is the now let's speak about the relative valuation. This is the On a basis of forward price to book ratio of 2025 figures, Nike look expensive compared to the consumer discretionary sector in Asia and the global market. However, it seems slightly inexpensive against the US. I forecast an ROE of 37.7% in 2025, which is slightly higher than the sector average in the US, Asia, and the global market. This results in Nike trading at a significant premium based on the 2025 PB to ROE ratio compared to Asia. Uh, it trades at a slight discount based on the compared to the world and a considerable discount compared to the US. You can see the graphs and the numbers. Now let's look at another relative valuation on a forward 2026 PE to P multiple. Nike trades at a significant discount to the consumer discretionary sector in the US and the world, while at a premium to the Asia. I expect EPS growth to be negative in 2025, which is why I did not use those figures. Uh, I expect 2026 EPS growth to be at 16.1%, which seems to be quite higher than the other companies. This results in Nike trading at a significant discount based on the P uh, PEG ratio, I would say, and compared to the world and the US, but overvalued as compared to the Asian companies. You can once again see the graph at the numbers. Now let's talk about my valuation. I assume a risk-free rate of 3%, an ERP of 8%, which along with an P2 of 1, that results in a cost of equity of 11%. Furthermore, I forecast a capital structure of around 18.7% debt uh, of total capital. This results in a WACC of 9.6%, and I assume a high terminal growth rate of 3%. I utilize free cash flow to the firm and come up to the final value of $96. In my base case scenario, I assume a gross margin of 45.7%, which implies an upside of 23%. In my sensitivity analysis, which I will show on the next page, uh, the optimistic case of gross margin is 47.7%, which results in a target price of 102, and in the pessimistic case, the gross margin is 43.7%, which results in a target price of $90. You can see the sensitivity analysis. These are all the numbers. We do a sensitivity analysis based on sales growth, gross margin, discount rate, and the terminal growth rate. Now, lastly, the risks. So the major risk which I spoke of earlier, will the R&D bear the desired results, or will the impact prove to be immaterial? Because a large dependency of the valuation is based on the success of this R&D expenditure. Furthermore, will the cost cutting work as expected, or is it just with wishful thinking? So furthermore, as I spoke earlier, I expect Nike to focus on sustainable development goals and cost reduction through inventory reduction. So will that even work? Furthermore, people seem to think Elliot Hill's retail will do things. However, will he meet expectations? As the previous CEO used to focus on direct selling to customers and did not focus on innovation. However, people think Elliot Hill will bring Nike back to what it was. He will focus on selling through wholesalers and will focus on innovation. However, is it so easy to say than it is to do? Lastly, a slight risk failure to maintain popularity among memes. A recent survey called the Taking Stocks with Teens in the Falls 2024 seems to say that Nike has lost popularity among teens from going from 61 to 57%, and specifically female teens, in which its popularity went from 56% to 48%. However, this should be taken with a pinch of salt as the sample size was small, being at 1300 13,515 US teens only. Once again, let's come back to Nike. As I said in the start, meeting expectations will unlock its upside potential. Otherwise, it will not. That is the end of it.
Okay, so how does it feel to graduate from the Valuation Master Class?
It feels amazing. I have
Okay.
to say brought a lot of discipline into me in terms of working and studying side by side, doing all the assignments on time, checking the assignments of myself by myself. it, it's a lot.
And tell me more about the discipline you mentioned. What's the benefit to you in your future?
I think, first of all, this was my first experience of working under the orders of anyone, to be honest. So I, on a daily basis, had to study at around 5 to 6 hours and also work at about 5 to 6 hours. That totals to like 12 hours, and I do not think that is an easy thing for a person to do.
How many hours do you think you worked on this the whole valuation masterclass?
I think based like it was 12 weeks, first 6 weeks and the last 6 weeks. The first six did not seem to take a considerable time on a daily basis, but the last 6 weeks they were extreme. I think I at least put in a 5 hours on a daily basis, 6 days, 6 days a week, which I think 6 by 6 is 36, and 36 by 5 is 180 hours on a from in a total of 6 weeks. So that is a lot.
And what's different about you now compared to when you started? What can you
Uh,
bring to an employer, or what's different about your personality or anything like that?
One thing I would like to say that I am a lot more confident. I was not very fluent in English in terms of speaking, and as you can see, I am not all, in fact, very fluent, but still I am a lot better. I can speak in a lot better manner. Furthermore, the discipline is something an employer wants. You cannot just get a job without a discipline. You cannot be sleeping when your job time has started. Furthermore, I think the best thing I was able to learn was able to improve my research skills. Furthermore, the peer review had taught me how to check others' work. So I constantly use that to check my own work, which allowed me to able to get my valuations approved in the matter of less time and less drafts.
Mm. And what was different compared to what you thought going into this?
I, to be honest, I thought it was going to be easy, and it was anything but easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real accomplishment to get through it, and we made it tough because we want people to make it to the end to feel great. Has your family or your parents seen your improvements in your discipline, or any comments from your mom and dad?
Yes, they see me working all the time. If I'm not studying, I'm working. If I'm not working, I'm studying. Otherwise, I'm sleeping. So yes, they do see a difference.
And just one last question is, what are you looking for in the future now that you've been through this and you're thinking about it? Helps you understand what you want more out of your life and your career and all that. Tell us about that.
I think it's still too early for my age to speak what I am going to be in the future, but I do think I am making a mind map, and I'll go where the life takes me and fates. And
Mm,
I hope that I'm able to fall in the research analyst area. I am highly motivated to be there.
you're ready. Great. I'm going to
Yes.
take you out of this, but well done. You should feel very proud of what you've accomplished, and I'll see you in the Slack channel.
Thank you.
Yep. Wow. Another really interesting one. I remember writing a report on Nike a few years ago and saying it was a sell. And now I see it's come down quite a bit. And now it looks like, as we've just seen, maybe it's a buy now. Anyways, that was another great presentation from one of the students graduating from Valuation Master Class. In this case, it was Muhammad. And if you want to build a competitive advantage in company valuation, join us at Valuation Masterclass.